So we have Daniel Kokotajlo, and he's a former OpenAI researcher. Daniel, have you been on the program before? I don't think you have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We wanted to have you on because I am a guy who I've been talking about AI forever, and it is both just thrilling and one of the scariest things I've ever seen at the same time. And it's kind of like not really sure which way it's going. How confident are you that? What'd you say?
It's going to go both ways. It's going to be very thrilling and also very scary.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Well, thanks for starting my Monday off with that. So can you tell me, first of all, let's start with some of the good things that you think are coming and are right around the corner that people just don't understand. Because I don't think anybody, the average person, they hear this, they think it's like social media. It's going to be like the cell phone. It's going to change everything, and they don't know that yet.
Yeah. Well, where to begin? I think, so probably people are familiar with systems like ChatGPT now, which are large language models that you can go have an actual normal conversation with, unlike ordinary software programs. They're getting better at everything. In particular, right now and in the next few years, the companies are working on turning them into autonomous agents. So instead of simply responding to some message that you send them and then, turning off, they would be continuously operating, roaming around, browsing the internet, working on their own projects, on their own computers, checking in with you, sending you messages, like a human employee, basically.
Right.
That's what the companies are working on now. And it's the stated intention of the CEOs of these companies to build eventually superintelligence. What is superintelligence? Superintelligence is fully autonomous AI systems that are better than humans at absolutely everything.
So on the surface, that sounds like a movie that we've all seen, and you kind of, you say that, and you're like, anybody that's working on these, have they seen the same movies I've seen? I mean, what the heck? Let's just go to see Jurassic Park. Ex Machina. What do you think? Is it just me, or do people in the industry go, this could be really bad? I had horrible pain in my hands. I had a hard time moving them. I could barely work with them. I couldn't write or type or anything. I tried everything. Then I found Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free supplement developed by doctors, and it's safe to take daily. It made a real impact for me and so many others. Try their 3-week quick start now, $19.95 at relieffactor.com.
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is they totally have seen those movies, and they totally think, yes, it could go really bad. In fact, that's part of the founding story of some of these companies. So,
what do you mean? What do you mean?
So, Shane Legg, who is, I guess, arguably the technical founder of DeepMind, which is now part of Google DeepMind, which is one of the big three companies building towards superintelligence. I believe in his PhD thesis, he discussed the possibility of superhuman AI systems and how if they were not correctly aligned to the right values, if they were not correctly instilled with the appropriate ethics, that they could kill everyone and become a superior competitor species to humans. It's not just him. Lots of the people at these companies, especially early on, basically had similar thoughts of, wow, this is going to be the biggest thing ever. If it goes well, it could be the best thing that ever happens. If it goes poorly, it could literally kill everyone or do something, similarly catastrophic, like lead to a permanent dystopia. People react to that in different ways. So some people sort of stayed in academia. Some people, stayed in whatever other jobs they had or founded nonprofits to do research about this sort of thing. Some people decided, well, if this is going to happen, then it's better if good people like me and my friends are in charge when it happens. So that's basically the founding story of a lot of these companies. That's sort of part of why DeepMind was created, and that's part of why OpenAI was created. I highly recommend going and reading some of the emails that surfaced in court documents related to the lawsuits against OpenAI. Because in some of those emails, you see some of the founders of OpenAI talking to each other about why they founded OpenAI. And basically, it was because they didn't trust DeepMind to handle this responsibly.
And
anyhow,
did they go on to come up with? Did they go on to say, like, and that's why we've developed this, and it's going to protect us from it? I mean, or did they just lose their way? What happened?
I mean, it's an interesting sociological question. My take on it is that institutions tend to conform to their incentives over time.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a sort of evaporative cooling effect where the people who are most concerned about where all this is headed tend to not be the ones who get promoted and end up running the companies, and they tend to be the ones who, for example, quit, like me.
Let's stop there for a second. Hang on, just stop there for a second. You were a governance researcher at OpenAI on scenario planning. What does that mean?
I was a researcher on the governance team. Scenario planning is just one of several things that I did. So basically, I did a couple different things at OpenAI. One of the things that I did was try to game out what the future is going to look like. So AI 2027 is a much bigger, more elaborate, more rigorous version of some smaller projects that I sort of did while I was at OpenAI, if that makes sense. Like, I think back in 2022, I wrote my own, here's gaming out what the next couple of years were going to look like internal scenario, right? And then
how close are you?
I can get some things right, get some things wrong.
Okay.
The basic trend is hard to miss, right? AI systems getting better and better, becoming more autonomous, etc. For how close I was overall, I actually did a similar scenario back in 2021 before I joined OpenAI. And so you can go read that and judge what I got right and what I got wrong. I would say that that's about par for the course for me when I tend to do these sorts of things. And I'm hoping that AI 2027 will also be, about that level of right and wrong.
So
I should mention the thing I wrote in 2021 is called What 2026 Looks Like, in case you want to look it up.
Okay, well, we'll look it up. You walked away from millions in equity in OpenAI. What made you walk away? What were they doing that made you go, I don't think it's worth the money?
So back to the bigger picture, I think. Remember, these companies are trying to build superintelligence. It's going to be better than humans, better than the best humans at everything, while also being faster and cheaper. And you can just make, many, many copies of them. The CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, he uses this term, the country of geniuses on a data center, to try to visualize what it would look like, because quantitatively we're talking, millions of copies, each one of which is smarter than the smartest geniuses, while also being more charismatic than the most charismatic, celebrities and politicians, and just everything, right? So that's what they're building towards. And that raises a bunch of important questions, like, is that even a good idea for us to build, for example? And how are we going to make that safe? And also, who gets to control the army of geniuses in the data centers,
Right.
And
right.
What orders are they going to be given, and who gets to decide, right? And these are some extremely important questions, right? And there's a huge, actually, that's not even all the questions. There's a long list of other very important questions too. I was just scratching the surface. And what I was hoping would happen at OpenAI and at these other companies is that as the creation of these AI systems gets closer and closer, it started out being far in the future, but as time goes on and progress is made, it starts to feel like something that could happen in the next few years, right?
Yes, right.
As we get closer and closer, there needs to be a lot more waking up and paying attention and asking these hard questions, and a lot more effort exerted to prepare to deal with these issues. So, for example, OpenAI created the super alignment team, which was a team of technical researchers and engineers specifically focused on the question of how do we make sure that we can put any values into these AI systems? How do we make sure that we can control them at all, even when they're smarter than us? So they started that team, and they said that they were going to give 20% of their compute to working on this problem, basically.
How much percentage went?
Well, I don't know, and I can't say, but I think it's much less than 20%.
Yeah, I would imagine
was a big step up, right? Yeah. So 20% was huge at the time because it was way more than any company was devoting to this technical question at the time. So at the time, it was a sort of leap forward. It didn't pan out. As far as I know, they're still not at anywhere near 20%. And that's just an example of the sort of thing that made me quit, where I'm like, we are just not ready, and we're not even taking the steps to get ready. And so we're going to build anyway, even though we don't understand it, don't know how to control it, and it's going to be a disaster. That's basically what caused me to leave.
So hang on just a second. Give me a minute. I want to come back and I want to ask you. You have an opinion on who should run this? Because I don't like OpenAI. I mean, I like X better than anybody, only because Elon Musk is just open to free speech on everything. But I don't even trust him. I don't trust any of these people, and I certainly don't trust the government. So who's going to end up with all of this compute? And do we get the compute and enough to be able to stop it, or enough to be able to be dangerous? I mean, it just makes your head hurt. Daniel Kokotajlo, he is former OpenAI researcher, AI Futures Project Executive Director, and talking about the reckless race, to use his words, to build AGI. You can find his work at AI-2027.com. So, Daniel, who is going to end up with control of this thing?
Great question. What do I want to say here? Well, probably no one. And if not no one, probably some CEO or president would be my guess.
If
you want to understand
comforting.
Why I think this, and in general, if you want to understand, my views, the views of my team at the AI Futures Project, and sort of how it all fits together and why we came to these conclusions, you can go read our website, which has all of this stuff on it, which is basically our best guess attempt at predicting the future. Obviously, the future is very difficult to predict. We're probably going to get a bunch of things wrong, but this was our best guess.
And that's AI-2027.com?
Yes.
Okay.
So as you were saying, it seems like we're going to, if one of these companies or several of these companies succeed in getting to this army of geniuses on the data center, the super intelligent AIs, there's the question of who controls them. There's a technical question of does humanity even have the tools it needs to control super intelligent AIs? So does anyone control them? And
I mean, it seems to me like
an unsolved question.
I think anybody who really understands this, it's like, we can build gates, but it's like a baby gate. I mean, imagine a baby trying to outsmart the parent. You're not going to be able to do it. It'll just step over that gate. And I don't understand why a super intelligence wouldn't just go, oh, that's cute, not doing that. You know what I mean?
Totally. And getting a little bit into the literature here. So there's a division of strategies into AI control techniques and AI alignment techniques. So the control techniques are designed to allow you to control the super intelligent AI or the AGI or whatever it is that you're trying to control, despite the fact that it might be at odds with you and it might have different goals than you have, different opinions about how the future should be, right? So that's a sort of adversarial technique where you, for example, restrict its access to stuff and you monitor it closely and you use other copies of the AI as watchers to play them off against each other. There's all these sort of control techniques that are designed to work even if you can't trust the AIs. And then there's alignment techniques, which are designed to make it the case that you don't need the control techniques because the AIs are virtuous and loyal and obedient and trustworthy,
Right.
et cetera, right? And so alignment techniques are trying to sort of instill the specified values deeply into the AIs in robust ways so that you never need the control techniques because they would never, so there's alignment techniques and control techniques. Both are important fields of research. There's maybe a couple hundred people working on these fields right now. But
hold on, because
it's not ready
both of
yet.
them sound like they're not gonna work.